Welcome to this week's episode of We Talk Facts. Today, we will be focusing on Beyond Words, the Art of Translation, where we break down barriers one word at a time. I'm your host, Dr. Machani, and today we are diving into a fascinating topic, the intersection of language and medicine. How does medical translation influence outcomes, bridge cultural gaps, and even leverage cutting-edge AI tools like computer-assisted translation? Joining me is someone who knows this space, Dr. Katerina Paraskevas, a physician and a medical translator. Dr. Paraskevas, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Mashani. It's an honor to be here.
So let's start with your journey, which sounds like it has spanned continents, disciplines, and plenty of challenges. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started.
Certainly, my journey, like your journey, has not been a walk in the park by any means. While on a journey, you should be taking walks in the park for your own health and well-being. But that is not the journey itself. A journey stretches you, and all the while, you need to pay the bills and make ends meet. Journeys are about navigating terrain, which takes skill. And to hone your skills, you need to be out there doing stuff to build yourself. So a little about myself. I'm originally from Thessaloniki, a city in northern Greece. I've been bicontinental my whole life. I grew up attending Greek school in New York City and later earned my medical degree from the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. At the end of my medical studies, my professor in internal medicine encouraged me to study public health, saying it would be the future for physicians. That advice led me to Columbia University, where I earned my MPH. It's been quite the journey, long, but also rewarding. I've come to see it as different phases of the same path, all of which I embrace fully.
That's a great perspective. It sounds like public health opened a lot of doors for you, especially in New York. What was your next step after earning your MPH?
Yes, it certainly did. I work with the city of New York in various departments, including the health department, where I held various executive positions. I was encouraged to take the USMLE while there, so I started preparing for those exams, a journey in itself. Interestingly, it was during that time that I leaned heavily on my written translation skills. Oral translation is called interpreting, and that I do not do. I focus on the written word. I've been translating since high school, where I was taught that good, effective text needs to be saucy. In other words, rich, engaging, and dynamic writing should not put someone to sleep. In class, we would translate text from Greek to English and vice versa, to build on our arsenal of practical skills, which came in very handy. In translation, the inherent desire is to take a document and make it so that it is not only understandable to the target audience, but go far beyond that. It's actually to have them feel the essence of the topic or capture the true gist of it. So there is an emotional element to it as well, like anything else that is written or spoken.
So I love that, saucy writing. So how did those early lessons turn into a career in translation?
It actually evolved organically. While studying for my MPH, I took on small translation assignments. Then came a large one that previous translators abandoned because of its complexity. It was about seizures and seizure medications. I finished that project, and soon more followed that other translators couldn't complete due to the medical content that was beyond the scope of their expertise. Eventually, I had enough clients to start my small business. I wouldn't even call it a small business. It's more like a teeny tiny consulting place where we can hang out and discuss projects called Epitome Translations. At first, I had an associate who I worked with who proofread the documents, and eventually I was on my own, which gave me flexibility to study in the morning and work in the evenings, a job schedule that met my needs at the time, which I was not able to find elsewhere. Now, as a freelancer, I am always working, even on weekends, as things come up. But it's still flexible in the sense that I work on an assignment and submit it, and that's that until the next one.
It sounds like you had some incredible experiences along the way. Tell us more about your work in translation. Any memorable projects?
Oh, yeah, there have been so many. I worked with the DA on a high-profile international arms case, translating for court. I've also recorded the Greek prompts for drugs like methotrexate when providers call in for more information about the drug. I've provided subtitles for documentaries and audio podcasts for Medscape. I also helped develop a Greek language exam with another language company that's administered to government workers here in the US in order for them to advance in their careers for their language skills. Physician notes are especially fun because many times the differential is added in the margins of the page along with other interesting side notes about the patient encounter, which sometimes are very, very funny. I have translated clinical trial-related documents that were submitted to the IRB for approval, patents for various inventions, psychiatric questionnaires, health questionnaires. The turnaround time is quick. So as soon as I receive it, I work on it, and then it's submitted. For the questionnaires, I provide the back translation to make sure that the forwarded Greek translation is accurate, since those questionnaires are originally in English, yet are used globally. Communication is what generates business for companies, including hospitals. Globalization and localization allow for access of products and services to people who do not speak English. Presently, I'm working on an ongoing pharmacovigilance project with a pharmaceutical company for a drug that's in the marketing phase at this point. During the summer, there was a heat wave in Greece, and patients and providers both called the company with questions about storage of the drug in the heat, especially when refrigeration was unavailable, as well as requesting the protocol for when there was a malfunction with the actual administration of the drug. In this case, it was an injectable. And for all these projects, I signed a non-disclosure agreement, so that's all I could tell you about each of them.
Wow, from high-profile cases to educational prompts. That's impressive. What advice would you give to someone interested in medical translation, especially physicians?
You know, physicians can play a key role here, a very special one. I know other professionals, lawyers in particular, and PhD linguists, of course, who perform translations who are very good at what they do. I'd say embrace the journey and stay curious. Translation is not just about language. It's about understanding culture, context, and nuance, including body language for video translation, which you would need to add all that in brackets of the text to further describe the situation. For physicians, it's a great way to combine medical knowledge with communication skills. Though it's challenging, it opens doors in ways you might not expect. We need the medical expertise to build the translation, but also the art of writing to make it coherent and even memorable, that which would be perfect. In many ways, it is like medicine, an art and a science. Translation actually parallels medicine. It is an art and a science and a world of its own, just like medicine. And it evolves as languages and expressions evolve with new terminology. Translation does make the world go round, as one of the language companies put it. It allows for communication and connection beyond boundaries. Also, in medicine, we have the EHR, like Epic and eClinical Works. And in translation, we have tools or computer-assisted translation tools like Trados Studio, MemoQ, WordBee, and others.
So, as both a translator and a physician, how have you seen cultural understanding impact patient care?
Cultural understanding is transformative in patient care and all of healthcare. It's not just about translating words, but conveying meaning with compassion and clarity most of all. I've worked with teams and witnessed how deeply cultural sensitivity affects decision-making, and especially trust. Culturally sensitive translation ensures the message resonates, not just in meaning, but in sentiment. It's a meticulous process. There's lots of reviewing, checking, rechecking, refining, and proofreading the text to make it seamless, but most of all, impactful. I see it as capturing the essence of a message, ensuring it speaks directly to the audience's heart and mind. I focus on clarity, smoothness, and flow of text so it can be read quickly. I also learned a lot of medicine doing translation. The description of amaurosis fugax, for example, can be written with a couple of words or described as an entire sentence.
What are some of the unique challenges you have faced in medical translation?
Medical translation goes far beyond literal accuracy. It's about capturing the intent and emotional weight of the message. Certain terms in English might lack a direct equivalent in another language. In these cases, I collaborate with project teams to ensure cultural accuracy while maintaining technical accuracy. And my collaborators are awesome. I have a lot of fun working with them. They offer a lot of support in anything that I need regarding my work to make the product better.
And the stakes are so high. The right words can truly make all the difference.
Exactly. Communication is a lifeline in healthcare, and getting it right can mean the difference between a good result and a not so good one.
It seems like your role extends far beyond just converting text. Could you elaborate?
Yes, of course, absolutely. Translators wear many hats. We're expert consultants, coordinators, educators, confidants, and even advisors. Building strong relationships in healthcare teams, project managers, localization teams is crucial because the final product reflects the synergy of the group. So it's important to work well with everyone. I would often need to explain the medical terminology to the non-medical staff. For example, the most question I get is about cor pulmonale, because it's actually hard to grasp the heart being involved with the lung problem. But over time, it is. As we know, pulmonary pressure rises and the heart needs to pump with greater force, affecting its function. This needs clarification often. So while on the USMLE journey, I expanded on my talents and abilities that were not really put to use before, which I really enjoy now.
That's a valuable perspective. It echoes the importance of collaboration in both translation and healthcare. How can we promote cultural inclusion in healthcare?
Inclusion means giving every individual a voice. In healthcare, this requires understanding that every patient brings unique cultural and emotional perspectives. It's not a cookie-cutter approach by any means, especially in medicine, where documents must respect these nuances. Engaging multidisciplinary teams can foster holistic, culturally sensitive translation. It is the same in medicine. By respecting and building trust and rapport along the way, we ease the journey in clinic or wherever we are.
So true. Cultural inclusion strengthens trust and human connection in profound ways. How does technology fit into medical translation?
Translation tools like Trado Studio use AI and are helpful. Technology became part of the translator's toolkit along with the doctor's EHR. It is not about replacing humans, though. It's about enhancing human function. I wasn't using it before because my translations did not skip over any parts of text, and it also flowed much better as I would type it out myself. However, most projects now require the use of translation tools, so I had to join them in their use. I finally embraced Trados for my projects. I find translation tools streamline workflow, but human insight is irreplaceable. For instance, while tools may miss certain elements of a document, such as headers, footers, or even stamps, or other contextual nuances, I ensure these gaps are filled, combining technology with personal expertise. The human touch ensures translations are both accurate and meaningful. It's similar to transcription and translation of the cell in molecular biology from our USMLE studies. Just as mRNA precisely transcribes and translates genetic instructions in the cell to protein, translators carry meaning across linguistics and cultural boundaries. Both processes require adaptability and attention to detail. Unlike the human mRNA, carrying out this fundamental process that is vital in human communication. That's how I view myself.
That's a fascinating analogy. Precision and adaptability are indeed key. Do you have a story that illustrates the impact of culturally sensitive translation?
One moment that stands out is when I voiced the methotrexate prompt in Greek for healthcare providers. Hearing the information in their native language clarified their understanding and made them feel respected. It was a reminder that language is more than just a tool. It's a bridge to trust, leading to effective medical care. Providers like working in the material localized to their own place of practice. So it is important that we continue to carry this out for them. And pharmaceutical companies are aware of this as they are global after all. Translation is about fostering respect, understanding, and connection. These are the foundation of both healthcare and cross-cultural communication.
That's a great example of how translation fosters connection and understanding. What advice would you give healthcare providers regarding cultural translation?
I would say active listening and interdisciplinary collaboration are vital. Engaging in teams helps ensure care is compassionate and culturally appropriate. Respecting the cultural context of patients is as important as addressing their medical needs.
Excellent advice. How does medical translation contribute to public health on a broader scale?
Medical translation saves lives by making healthcare accessible to diverse populations. At its heart, cultural translation is about building bridges. It's a dynamic exchange of ideas and energy. It supports public health campaigns, pharmaceutical research, and more. Interestingly, the act of translating itself, that is engaging the brain's language center, has protective effects against neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's.
That's fascinating. A reminder of the far-reaching impact of your work. Thank you, Dr. Paraskevas, for sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you very much for having me. I had a lot of fun. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey beyond words. Until next time, we talk facts.